Why you always in the mood?
Outstanding. Okay, Omar, after that excitement, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Corsair?
Here.
Councilmember Dayton?
Here.
Councilmember Michaels?
Present.
Councilmember Deborah O'Connor?
Here.
Councilmember Park? Councilmember O'Leary? Here. Mayor Singh.
Here. Okay. Next, we have a presentation, a proclamation regarding Edon Alexander. Hold on 1 second. And I'm going to read the proclamation to everyone. Whereas Edon Alexander is a cherished resident of the borough of Tenafly, a member of our student population throughout our schools, and a well-liked and respected young man within our community. And whereas on Saturday, the 7th day of October, 2023, the world witnessed a horrific and unprovoked attack against the state of Israel, marking the deadliest day for Israelis in modern history, with many innocent Israelis and Americans killed or wounded. And whereas on that dreadful day, Edon Alexander, a 19-year-old dual American Israeli citizen, was serving in the Israeli Defense Forces and was taken hostage by the Hamas terror organization during this brutal massacre. And whereas Edon Alexander endured 584 days in captivity under unimaginable conditions, held hostage in violation of international law, and became a symbol of perseverance and hope. Whereas on Monday, the 12th day of May, 2025, Edon Alexander, now 21 years old, was released by Hamas to the American Red Cross, bringing overwhelming relief and joy to his family, friends, and all those who tirelessly advocated for his return. And whereas this momentous news was delivered to his mother on Mother's Day, Sunday, the 11th of May, 2025, and shortly after her birthday on Friday, the 9th day of May, 2025, making this an especially poignant moment of celebration and healing. And whereas while we celebrate Edon's safe return, we solemnly remember the American hostages who were tragically killed in captivity, and we call upon Hamas to immediately release the remains of all Americans held so their families may have the closure and dignity of a proper burial. And whereas the borough of Tenafly eagerly awaits the return of Edon Alexander to his hometown, where a joyous townwide celebration will be held to honor his strength, resilience, and safe return. Now, therefore, I, Mark Zinner, Mayor of the Borough of Tenafly, on behalf of the Borough Council and the residents of Tenafly, do hereby proclaim Monday, the 12th day of May, 2025, as Edon Alexander Freedom Day in the Borough of Tenafly, New Jersey, and encourage all citizens to join in honoring Edon's courage, the efforts made to secure his freedom, and the enduring spirit of our community. Thank you. I also want to say that in the mail today we received from Mayor Bernstein, who's the mayor over in Demarest, that they did a proclamation also on Edon's behalf that was presented at their council meeting. So thank you to Mayor Bernstein and the people of Demarest. Okay. Next item on the list, Leroy street markings.
Okay, Mayor and Council, as you remember from last year, there were calls for sidewalks to be installed on Leroy Street. We had our traffic engineer and chief of police do some studies on there. While the installation of sidewalks wasn't warranted and it was cost prohibitive, the traffic engineer, along with the chief, came up with some ideas to calm the traffic. And the chief is here, so let me ask him to address what was installed and how that is going.
How you doing, Chief?
Good evening, how are you?
Good.
Yes, and so this was a project that was supposed to actually happen last summer, or the fall. We obviously it was slow with the weather, and once we got the building temperature gets below certain temperatures, up in the thermal plastic will not adhere to the road, so we had to pump it until a little while ago. The road department was great with cleaning the road out, street sweeping it, and we were able to apply the markings. So what we did was we applied fog lines, which can also double as bicycle lanes or pedestrian path. And then in addition to that, we provide a little more double yellow line. in the area of the school. We also added a couple of 25 mile per hour writings also too, to essentially, obviously, the speed limit. The idea behind the lines is that, and I said before in the past, there's really a constriction, and we're driving down the road and there's homes and construction zone and look at tight. We don't want to drive fast and feel it's tight, and we have a tendency to slow down. And hopefully that's what we can achieve there. They're brilliant, but obviously their replacements in the last few years. Although I haven't gotten any direct compliments from residents, the crossing guard who's posted right there is getting a lot of compliments from parents dropping off.
I think it's great. I've been using it, I think it's great. I've been seeing comments online that it's great, so I think it's a great solution. We should look at doing it more and more.
Good.
It was about roughly $6,000, a very long stretch, and we was in other areas. Listen, I'm not against sidewalks, that's just a very difficult area with terrain issues and a lot of tree removals and things like that. So I've never seen that around that, but this is a interim remedy. Obviously, something to answer some of the concerns about obviously pedestrian safety.
Fantastic, thank you.
Where else do you think we can use it?
They got some plan, not there. Other school zones, I know Councilman Parker mentioned next, and some of the other schools are actually on major roads. But something, there are some other locations. Something that that are habitual, some areas we get habitual events of speeding in Vermont. There's other areas off the top of my head, I don't know.
Councilwoman Corsia, you brought up the issue today on East Clinton.
East Clinton, I think it was.
Is that
So it's
county?
the eastern end, the higher end by the hill.
That's a great shot right there with the little on your foot. So that's on stance, span, I should say. But, anything to help out. I do believe that your speed limits, your speed, the radar signs are slowing traffic down. That is something.
There's no walking, biking.
We do have,
Really,
we do have money set aside in the 2025 capital for road striping and pedestrian safety. So we can take a look at these other locations and we'll come up
I
with.
think a lot of it's going to be actually something here marked or here toward the downtown crosswalks.
It's not limited to that. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah, that was come on.
I don't think the Clinton issue was trucks up the pass. Is it a county road? It's like not our road.
Yes, we commissioned it.
Yeah. Or we get county.
Yeah.
To be looked at. Go ahead, Lauren.
What about parts of an angle?
Again,
What about any part of an angle in the gap?
that's another one also too. Probably the upper sections by you where it's more curvy. Yes.
Big
It's not drivable. The road's not drivable.
Only on one side.
Maybe they have a sidewalk.
Speed you can flow.
Okay.
But people are crossing angle, like on the sidewalk.
Chief, Engle Street is being paved this year. We're doing the boroughs portion.
That's the county road side of it, so that basically goes to Bell South, but there's a northern section which is probably about.
Oh, yeah.
Right, but I think that's on our paving plan.
We're north of Westerville?
Yeah, we have to research that.
So if it's being paved, we could probably talk to the contractor about the work.
Yeah, we do that. Sure.
Yeah.
So I have a question
Go
for the
ahead.
chief. It's about traffic safety. Can you just update everyone so near the intersection, which is now the four-way stop sign by the pharmacy and is that J Street, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we spoke about, you said that you were waiting on some illuminated signs there. Because there's well, you could fill everyone in of how.
I'd like to put the flashing stop signs that you've seen in some towns and that they draw your attention. We have a capital project for 2. We need money for another 2 because before we stop intersection, you can't just use 2, you have to do 1.
Right.
So they've been communicating and I think he's going to find the money for that.
Yeah, and again, the 2025 capital has money for downtown pedestrian safety, so we can get those signs for that.
It's been a problem because, and I guess the chief can also say what he's observed, but like you called it the Jersey roll. So people, it's really very dangerous for crossing, and I would have even preferred it like during the school year, but I'll take it if it's, over the summer. But, it's a pretty, harrying place.
Well, the challenge is, I would have a very wide road there, so the stop center will farther off to the right.
Yeah.
So this is something that basically will flash and something hopefully draw your attention more. But we have stop and big letters written in front, so.
Yeah, we try.
The Jersey roll thing, so there is a thing, so when you do stop walking, you write something that does take place at all stop signs. That is always particularly tough intersections, probably when it is a stop sign. But we have watched it. There is a lot of compliance. I mean, yes, some people, are not compliant with the vast majority.
It's certainly improved.
Most people.
It's definitely.
Definitely.
It's an important piece. If we have the money in the budget, that's an area that is,
We have part of it. And I think the other part's coming.
the other part's coming.
Yes, we have.
Okay, there you go. Hey, that was my question. Thank you.
All right, Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Appreciate that. All right, Tenafly Nature Center. Adam?
Yes, just three quick things. First, highlighted, and I know many of us were there, Saturday's event was super awesome. So
Spectacular.
congratulations to Jenny Jackson, the entire Nature Center board, just an overall fun night. Second, and I've spoken with many of my fellow council people, I know there's been lots of discussion back and forth for a long time. What I'm proposing, and again, this is collaborative, instead of every year having to go back and forth, different numbers every time, I would propose setting a fixed number. Say we say a percentage of their budget. I like that idea because the harder the Nature Center works, the harder we work with them. It could be an absolute dollar number, but the whole idea is instead of having to do this year after year, we put some process, some consistency in place. And then before we go into that, in addition to that, I've spoken with folks, I know the accessible trails has been a big project. The Nature Center has come to us. This is a multi-million-dollar grant opportunity. We've already submitted it to, I think, Senator Booker and to others. If we can help them out, and it's roughly about $45,000 this year and next year, very much a project-based thing, I think that can really help our residents' accessibility. Again, I really like the idea of federal grant money.
Yeah.
So those would be my 2.5, hopefully everyone agrees on a successful Saturday night. 2.5 things that, if we agree as a council, we can take it offline and come up with exactly what that percentage is. And then we come and have that as an ordinance for next meeting.
So May 3rd is the next meeting, right? June 3rd, sorry, June 3rd.
Go back.
Percentage of their budget,
Yes.
and does that mean that we would review that budget for reasonableness? Or?
Yeah, like we always do, but again, it's at least it's already in there. We can budget for it. We can look at it again.
So we have it
As a percentage of their revenue.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Lauren,
Not
yeah.
been part of it. This is- As it historically was part of the budget.
Correct.
So
More
it should be
structure,
added to-
yes.
I agree.
No, the revenue.
And it would be from operating budget
Right.
versus open space.
Yes, Lauren?
Adam, I can't tell you how thrilled I am to hear the amount face, so thank you for the support for the Nature Center. That's fun.
That's
We're
like so
unnecessary.
unnecessary.
It's not unnecessary. It's not.
Unnecessary.
Because I think the
Great,
public
I
needs to
agree.
understand. I think the public needs to understand.
Public misunderstanding. That's what I think about the cultural base. That's the reality. That's what I think.
First of all, my turn to speak. Second of all, respectfully,
Almost
Please.
respectfully, this has been proposed before.
from here.
A couple years ago, I proposed a percentage of our open space funds, which is actually designated for this purpose. I am happy to hear the willingness of our council today to have an automatic percentage come out. I think it should be an automatic percentage out of our open space and not the Tenafly Nature Center's budget. We accumulate and tax our residents for green space and open space automatically. That money is designated in a trust that we have not utilized enough for our larger community. The Tenafly Nature Center has almost 400 acres of designated land that we make them the stewards for. And they should not absolutely have to be arguing with our council each and every year. So I fully agree with that concept for automatic budgeting. Again, they are literally taking care of 1/4 of our communities up there. Not only that, they're doing education and stewardship and conservation and environmental issues. I would like to remind the council, the full council, of just how important their job is. I know that some members of the board are here, but in case we haven't hammered this enough, we allow this board to be stewards of 1/4 of our town. And we task them with preserving a natural resource, a natural space. And lately, what I've been hearing is a lot of conditional arguments that if they don't do what the council says, if they don't put bells and whistles on things, that they are not going to get the money. And I just find that that attitude and demeanor over the past few weeks has been very disappointing. I think we give them this job and we need to enable the job, whether we utilize it or not. We are, as the Tenafly Council, responsible for this land. And we are responsible for not destroying this preserve. And that's what it is, a preserve. And by demanding things like paddle boats in a sensitive ecosystem or, swinging through our trees, we have to realize they are very few employees. They are not able to take on numerous tasks unless we hire more people. They are already struggling to pay their workers the correct wages that are competitive in the marketplace. But their workers actually stay because they enjoy the nature center so much. So before we overload them with things that they're not asking as stewards, but we're demanding for monetary reasons, we need to remember that balance, that the board should vote on what the board thinks should go in the nature center. And we shouldn't be demanding or conditioning our payments accordingly. We shouldn't say, we'll give you a donation if you do a ropes course or if you do a train or whatever it is that I've heard in the past few weeks and months. I think it's a shame that we are still having this conversation, that it wasn't an automatic yes during a budget or during an open space discussion. And so again, if we want to discuss a percentage, I think it should be a percentage of our open space raised for this purpose and not, again, taxing our residents with the budget. As for the Accessible Trails Project, we have spoken to numerous commerce people, and we are building our relationships in our community. I think an engineering cost would be an excellent idea, Adam, so thank you for that, to give the Nature Center and move that project along if we can afford that. And again, that should be out of our open space.
So you're for the nature center.
Yeah, I'm unclear on that now too.
I'm unclear as well.
Yeah.
Dan.
Go ahead, John, you have the floor next. Oh, sorry,
Dan's
Dan,
been
you
up.
first?
Go ahead.
So, me and Adam spoke on the phone about this. It's a good idea. 4 years ago, pre-COVID, we gave a set amount in our opera. So let's get over this year. This year, they had proposed roughly $70,000 worth of maintenance and repairs. We were deciding on 65. Looks like we're going to 50 out of open space this year. Just the flat out donation. Let them deal with the 50K
That's
alone.
the open space this year, 'cause the-
Correct, because we're behind and we missed the budget window anyway. The 45K additional to that is for the trail. So grand total this year, open space, 95K.
Well, we
Agreed.
can figure out what that is, but roughly.
Roughly. My proposal is, don't worry about the percentage of what they raise because it's going to be too hard to calculate and for us to budget properly in our operating. So we're going to go pre-COVID, set amount 50K a year with a percentage increase, and outside of that, open space, help them with their projects. Just like pre-COVID, we were all here.
Yes.
Pre-COVID, we gave them a donation straight out the operating, and then they came to us with Fister's Pond. We gave them 660K.
Right, originally.
That going back to that concept. Flat cash donation, do whatever you need with it, pay for your
And the next
repairs
one's
or
come
your
up
staff.
definitely.
Right. But for actual big projects, we're here for you.
Well, John.
Just wanted to publicly take exception to the fact that there's been insinuated strongly, both in this forum and across town, that this council has any animosity or any difficulty with the nature center. I want to be very, very clear. I've lived here my entire life. I respect the Nature Center and the job that they do, and will support the Nature Center. My line of questioning last week, which has been greatly misconstrued by members of council publicly, was the same line of questioning that we asked of our police, of our fire department, and of all of our operating entities. That, in my view, is the job of this council, to be fiduciary stewards of the taxpayer dollar. I take grave exception to that, and would hope that that's not the case, and would like to clear any record that anybody on this council is not supportive of the Nature Center and our green spaces. I very much believe it's their job to ask the right lines of questions to make sure that we're spending the money in the most appropriate manner.
So I have a
Well, Julie first and Lauren.
So I was thinking about this issue about tying our donation to their budget as opposed to a set amount. And I see what Councilman Park is saying, that might be harder for us to plan. But I was also thinking of something else with the reality of this, federal government or what we might be going into statewide. Whatever grants the Nature Center gets, it could be really unpredictable for them year by year. And I would be concerned that in a tough year that they're having because something gets pulled or some funding disappears, that we would actually be giving less on a year like that. So I think as I was ruminating about it, I am more comfortable with deciding a set amount, and then that way they could plan for that, because it's going to be a strange future.
Because if they have a great year.
And if they have a great year, we're like on the hook for all this money, right?
But they come in, they usually come in,
We see the court, we see the police.
No, they don't come to us.
They used to.
Because they're a nonprofit.
They don't come to us at that level of detail, they never have. They come to us.
It's a nonprofit.
On there.
The pool never did it. Chief Act does it for fun.
Go ahead, Lauren.
So Dan, a couple years ago, when we were having this debate on the budget and giving a certain percent, certain number out of the budget for TNC, the council actually said that they would prefer to give it that open space. So I'm sort of throwing it back to you.
Incorrect.
So I just wanna-
Incorrect. This
Well,
happened in
so
2020 when we were nervous about our budget. We moved operating cash into open space. It's only, this is only 5 years old.
Right, well, let me finish my question. So my point is that we actually utilize a percentage of the taxes that we raise, talking about fiduciary stewardship. We utilize those taxes, we set them aside for open space, green space, recreation,
Correct.
as open space for the municipality.
Correct.
So since we do that already, instead of raising additional taxes by an operating budget, we have this money set aside automatically out of the taxes that we incur. So rather than increase our operating budget, what I'm asking is, why aren't you a fan of taking it out of the open space, which is accrued and raised for this purpose?
One, open space comes with conditions. It's only tied to maintenance and repairs.
Which is what I believe that they utilize our money for.
So now we've already
Hamstrung.
them on what they can do, on what they can request. Now we can't pay, if we give them straight cash from operating, they can pay staff.
So
It comes with less strings attached.
from what I understand, having been on the board, and now Julie's on the board, maybe, she was in a discussion on Monday, I wasn't there, but they're typically not using the municipality's money for salaries. They're typically using it for land and stewardship maintenance.
He's saying.
Just to interject the detail.
See that, let's take ourselves out of that discussion
The open
completely.
space fund is going up for referendum again next year. So,
It's no guarantee.
yeah, we can't tie anything to that this year.
That's very smart point.
Tenafly's also, Tenafly's gonna go for it. 4-1.
Right.
It's awesome.
He said this year it's been established that the only option, because the budget process is already closed, is
Correct.
open space. I think what the mayor's trying to say is, why argue about what you're doing next year when there's no guarantee that the rest referendum passes again, or if it doesn't? So focus for this year, and then once you have the referendum, you can decide how to move forward.
But are we comfortable with the idea of a set amount? I think it might be
Well, this year
the,
we're just deciding a set amount because to the point, we don't know where we allocate money from next year. So we have a framework for what we do on a go-forward basis, but not a.
I think let's knock that out this
Right.
week, such that we could vote on it.
May 3rd, June 3rd.
but I think you're right, Councilman, that you don't want it like every year.
That's right, exactly. We could do it a lot more efficiently.
All right, so I'm hearing, yes, Lauren, then we'll
Sorry,
move on.
I have an additional question, I guess, throwing out for the council. The official ask was 75, is that correct?
65.
65, and we went down to 50, is there a reason?
This
not
is actually,
15?
as council, Mr. Park said, this is actually going to be above their council.
I understand we're separately also going to look into the accessible trail engineering reports, but their ask to maintain our almost 400 acres was 65. So my question is, for the council, how did we get to 50?
That's
Only
didn't,
purchase.
that's what we're going to talk about.
So I would like to propose a 65 plus.
What you're doing is exactly what I'm proposing not to do. Just set a random number of active days for it. The whole idea is to put structure around it such that it's not a random number every year. We want to budget for it, such that every year we can plan for it. It's called plan.
Nice.
So I'm actually on the TNC development, and those budgets are very tight, and they have a set amount that they ask to cover certain expenses. It's not a random number, it's actually been proposed by the board for a particular purpose, to cover a particular expense, whether it's maintaining our land or.
Why don't you guys, why don't I propose better? You, Councilman Park, and Councilman Dr. O'Connor, being on, why don't you guys come back to us over the next week? You tell us a number.
No, but I don't need to because our stewards did. So while we, the three of us, might come up with a number, our stewards of our
What
land
about this
actually,
year's number?
well, either you do a percentage of open space or we don't have that option and we figure it out.
And then that's what I'm asking, is that if we
But we
spend
have-
all this
No,
time,
no, we have
to actually
issues.
have it to.
So I just need to stop for 1 second because Lauren, you said that you're on the development committee. I want to make sure we don't have a conflict of what's being
No,
discussed.
I'm not on the board.
I don't know what the development committee is.
Development committee is just a side committee that helps plan like
For
the
fun.
I help.
Sounds like.
It's not a conflict. I'm not on the board. I am not a board member. I did not go to Bundy's board meeting. I'm no longer on the board once I became council. I relinquished my seat. It was taken by someone else.
That's true.
I volunteer my time because I believe in the nature center cause, and that's my volunteerism.
When I
That's
was
fine.
previously on the board, the development committee didn't exist. I don't know about the development committee. I'm just,
Like
if it's
Jenny
something that's
Jackson is-
fundraising and you're coming to the council speaking on behalf of the nature center for money, it creates that.
I'm not in that position, Wendy. For example, Jenny Jackson was just on the development committee planning the gala. That is what it is. She's not on the board. We are volunteers that are assisting our nature center.
Well, the board volunteers.
I am not an official board member. As soon as I took this office, that seat was relinquished on the board. Very clearly with the director, all of that was done. So I haven't been on the nature center board. However, I do strongly believe in their work. And what I'm saying, Adam, is this is the year they have come with us with a particular number. So my question is to the council, why are we arbitrarily changing that number?
So this happens every year. They come to us with a number. Back in the day, it was 35. They came asked for 50, so we said 40. Like it's a back and forth every year.
Why are we undercutting ourselves? They are maintaining our land. We want them to maintain our land. We want them to provide education. We want them to conserve. We want our ecosystems up there to be full of animals and not, have a hydro rate situation arise again.
That's why it's an operating.
All right, so
I want to answer.
the answer is why do I keep saying May? On June 3rd, this is going to be the first reading. We'll do the first reading, and by then we will have two options presented to the council. Either this percent, pegged to a number as a percent or a fixed number, and the council will vote on the option, and we'll do the ordinance, and that'll be that.
And I encourage everybody to speak to the board and find out what the 65 would be used for.
Okay.
I think they sent us.
And why that
It's
particular number was
detailed- it's
that.
detailed in the letter.
Yeah, they sent us
Well,
a
excellent.
letter.
We have a detailed letter asking for exactly what is needed in that money. That's even, David, thank you.
All right, next is public comment. Audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body. Items on or off the agenda. Large groups are asked to have a spokesperson represent them. Anyone would like to make public comment? Yes, come on up to the microphone. Just give us your first and last name, no address.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Richard Fonte. I've been here before, and I'm back just to provide an update on the prohibition of the short-term rentals and the ordinance that you all have passed. I'm sorry to report that it's gone on uninterrupted. So each weekend, since we talked about it. So I'm just curious if you're able to share, is there enforcement happening? What's happening?
So, go ahead.
So our code enforcement department has investigated and has issued summonses. I can report that the one case I'm aware of, they failed to show up in court. So now that is being handled by the judge, and he'll issue whatever directives he will. So as the properties become aware to our staff, they'll go out and investigate and issue a summons. And then that summons goes to the Tenafly Municipal Court for adjudication.
Have we reached out to Airbnb, RBO to tell them that
Yes.
it's not allowed?
Yes, yeah, and one of the problems
should
is
be
that, I think it's with Airbnb, staff really can't go and necessarily find the address looking at it, because you have to go and sort of commit, I think, in order to find the address, commit to a rental.
But shouldn't they respond to everything municipality with a legal?
Well, I think, no, what I'm talking
Yeah,
about
shouldn't they
is
take it off
the
their?
advertisements.
Correct.
All right, one at a time, please.
I didn't hear what you just said.
Bless you.
They know the address behind the scenes.
Right.
Before we tell them from a legal standpoint, this is a prohibition, they should have a lot of it. Am I wrong in that?
I thought that they had sent us an email saying that they would if we identified them, but it sounds like they're
That's the
having
issue.
issues.
Is that a lawyer letter from you to them, would be effective, or is that already happening?
No,
That hasn't happened
We should
yet.
do that.
They'll go through
Yeah,
David's
I'm
office.
sorry to do it, because that's totally
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
But at least it sounds like it's working its way through the legal process locally.
Locally,
Yeah.
yes, but that's not.
No.
You could give the clerk the address, of Airbnb,
It's
and
then-
when.
I'll follow.
Definitely.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Lauren, go ahead. Lauren has the floor, guys.
So is there anything else, I mean, obviously the homeowners around this Airbnb are losing their quiet enjoyment of their own properties. Is there anything else that they can do? Should they be calling the police when they see people, the trash collection, the noise levels? I mean, how much can we in the municipality enforce this? Because clearly it's,
Well, that's what.
they don't wanna wait out the legal.
There's two processes, right?
There's
Police
two
get-
things
The
happening.
police get called and code enforcement goes. Then we issue summonses and it goes to the judge.
How can we remove
That's
the
what I think.
tenants? Can we remove the renters, the Airbnb renters?
What do you mean remove the renters?
No.
Actually, but they're there in Dallas.
That's a legal question.
To me, they're squatting.
Yeah, I'll get New Jersey doesn't care.
Well, we've been told to call the police each time it occurs.
Yeah. No, I like going to Airbnb.
Thank you.
If it's-
We appreciate you giving us the update. Thank you.
I know one of them
Okay.
are done. I know one of them is no longer on Airbnb.
Well,
But
So-
can I ask the-
Yeah, go ahead, ask
question?
question.
We as a municipality, can we fence the property? Can we put a fence
No.
around, do not enter?
Oh, it's gotta go through the whole legal process.
It's still private property.
Yeah.
You know, we could go knock on the door and they could tell us it's their cousin who's staying there, which they can't force somebody out without knowing it. We need to do it from the other direction. And quite frankly, that's why we give the summonses, because then if it is a family member, let them tell us that's in response to the summons.
Question.
Are we judicial or non-judicial state as it relates to eviction?
We cannot get anyone out.
So we're just judicial state.
It's a very long process.
Yeah.
Okay.
With a short-term rental, you wouldn't even start the process in time for a short.
Yeah. Question.
Dan,
Okay.
Question.
Dan, next
So just to follow up with the summons part, if the guy doesn't show up to court or whatever, can we fine Airbnb and the other companies for even, like if they're notified that we have a
It's
bit,
worth looking at.
kind of like a really increasing
Okay.
first slap on the wrist, second.
yeah, yeah.
All right, who else would
Thousands.
like to make a public comment? Anyone
Thousands.
coming up? Anyone over there? Yes, come to the microphone, please.
so I just want to help with the girls. This is related also to the correspondence that you'll see.
Okay. Go ahead, just give us your name, not your address.
All right. Hello, my name is Brianna Shin.
Hi, Brianna.
I'm part of Girl Scout Troop 97159. And so I'm just here to get your permission to use some property space in order to build newspaper stands. And so just to briefly explain, essentially a problem that we found was the fact that we have newspapers being left on the driveways, and instead of being recycled, they're just left there to rot in the rain. And then we also found that accessibility to the newspapers is kind of limited, and most people don't really notice how much is really through the newspapers. So in order to solve these issues, we have two parts to this essentially. First, we wanted space in the newsletter for us to be able to tell the public to recycle your papers after you're done reading them. And then another focus of it is to build the newspaper stands behind the library in like the circle area near one of the Little Free libraries. And this would just be for newspapers. And then another area would be near the Tenafly High School, because as far as I know, there's a project in the high school that requires newspapers. And so how this is actually going to be accomplished, we contacted the suburbanite company, and they said that they were willing to do this and they would deal with stands as a business. We're still further contacting them, but I'm just here to ask for your permission to use the property space.
So what are the two sites again? Behind the library?
Yeah.
Resco.
Okay, and a Resco Park.
And then near the high school.
So the high school, you have to go to the Board of Ed.
Board of Ed.
It's their property.
So just to tell you that this is also their silver award project, their Girl Scouts. And I do just want to let you all know that we're going to be including that in the Environmental Commission's newsletter write-up about recycling the paper. So that'll be included.
May I ask?
Go ahead, Jim.
May I ask you to do something for me because I'm not smart enough to do it myself? What you're doing is great, and it's smart to do all the recycling efforts. Perhaps with the to the suburbanite, you can ask them how, I would like to publish this, how residents can opt out of delivery, because I do not want that newspaper in my driveway. And I agree with you, I pick it up rain soaked every Sunday morning and throw it away. And so to do the right thing in recycling is the right thing to do. However, if we can cut it at the root cause and we can publish to residents how they can turn off and prohibit that distribution, I would be so grateful. It would be amazing.
Yeah, so to address your, issue that you brought up, so we did contact them and there is a way to cancel the newspapers being delivered.
Tell me how.
Yeah. We also thought that we could use the newsletter as a way to essentially, contact.
That's actually
you.
really
You know, it sounds like she's not going to tell you unless you agree to this project.
I do just want to add real quick though that just at the same time, we're not looking to reduce readership of local news. So that's the balance, my friend.
I'm certain that it's legal to throw something on my driveway without my permission. If I were to do that, I think, the chief would probably have something to say.
Lauren, go ahead.
First of all,
Wait, where do you live?
congratulations to the whole troop. Thank you for being here tonight. I know these projects are very hard and they require a lot of teamwork and effort, so thank you for making it. First of all, I want to reiterate what Julie just said. Our local newspapers are so vital, especially for something like a municipal council, to get the news out to our local residents. And unfortunately for us, we lost actually one of those papers, and now no one is covering our council meetings. And we used to have a designated journalist. So having the ability to get the paper and then recycle the paper you've read is just an outstanding project, so thank you. And obviously John doesn't want on his driveway, so this might be an excellent idea to move it to other places. What I wanted to raise my hand about was, instead of maybe putting it at the high school, since you're here before us, is maybe we, as a council, come up with a second municipal spot, maybe downtown somewhere else.
We
The
could
mayor has a suggestion.
downtown, we can do it by the pool maybe, or the new park on Grove Street, which gets visitors every single day.
And it's close to the high school.
And it's close to the high school.
And so
Yeah.
then you don't have to go to another board meeting. I was trying to avoid having you, not that you can't, but, and I do think that one of the key things that you should publicize is not only is this paper available for our residents, but recycling. And then, Mayor, is there any way for our recycling trucks to make sure that they are recycling from these stations?
From, what do you mean, from the newsstands?
So is there a newsstand and recycling, or is that just the newsstand?
Sorry, recycling would be like, if the newspaper gets delivered to your house, you should recycle it
Yeah.
once you see it there.
You're talking about putting newspapers in there for people to take.
The idea of cleaning those stands, I think you didn't get a
Yeah,
chance to
it was
talk
just
about
something
that.
to-
Yeah. So like actually cleaning the stands and maintaining that, I would say it would be like our church responsibility.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's
Yes,
important.
Adam, you have a question?
If we can just, it'd be great, Omar, David, after you design it, just have DPW take a look and just make sure it's whatever the DPW approves on
Okay, is everyone on the council in favor of this?
Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
it sounds like, obviously, everyone supports it, I support it, so it's a great idea. You need to connect with David Fanslaw, the borough administrator, okay? Or through Omar, and then make sure you give them the final decision for the location, so we're all aware of it, but whatever they want to do is fine.
And in my office, Amanda Booth in my office is working on a newsletter, so you can contact her and give her a copy.
Well, I'm putting that into the environmental commission write-up. They come to about how to recycle, so I'll just take care of that.
And when you're ready to launch, I'll also put it in my mayor's message, okay?
Yes,
All
okay.
right, all right, great, thank you.
Good job, girls.
All right,
Silver award.
any other members of the public here want to speak that are in the chambers?
No.
No, okay.
It's gotta get gold.
Oh, go ahead, Paul, come on up. And you have to tell us your name, but not your address, please.
Yeah, Paul Lefkowitz, I've been living here for like over 40 years, and I just want to say I'm in favor of Deborah for her Tenafly Nature Center, and if you can contribute what she's looking for, I would appreciate it. I'm just one of the residents.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else here want to speak? Of course, Isaac, come up. Just your name and not your address.
Isaac Bernard, 128th Street, West New Jersey.
I'm gonna address.
The what?
No address.
I'm sorry, but the acoustic is very bad here. And I have hearing aids and I don't hear.
Okay.
I try to communicate with
Omar?
with Omar, but something doesn't work with the system.
Okay.
So what happened?
No, it's okay. What do you, go ahead, just tell us what you wanted to say.
Okay, so I don't know if this is the time to talk about bid that we had for the outdoor sitting.
Right, so what's gonna happen, so the council wants to discuss a number of issues with that, right? And so right now it's on the consent agenda. We're gonna take it off the consent agenda, okay? And then we're gonna have a closed session after this meeting. Then after the closed session, we're gonna come back on to decide whatever the council decides publicly.
Okay.
Right, so you're welcome to say anything you want. So yes, anything you want to say.
So I think, is this working?
Yes.
So, a couple of things, couple of issues that I understand that, that it's the council and mayor's right to do, to change or cancel or whatever, but, I think it has been a long process already, like, we started with the tent, we started with umbrellas and everything, but, we needed to take the tent down, which I think it was very successful at the time, but, for the town, for the way it looks, it wasn't appropriate, so we came and suggested to build up something really nice. And with the history of Cafe Angelique, we've been here for 20 years, and we bring people, we're serving the local Tenafly residents, a lot of people from different cities, towns, they're coming over, and without Cafe Angelique the way it is, I think, it won't come after 20 years, it won't be the way it is now. The town, the way it looks. More restaurants open, more businesses open. And I think if we already had, the purpose of the bid was, to get something nicer, and we are preparing to do that. And we have nice plans to take care of it. And sorry. And now, and there was, I think, the town and everybody had a long time to, since we discussed the first time, since we showed them the proposal, what we want to do, and then everybody agreed to what maybe it should be. It was open for everybody, and we submitted the bid that that's the way it's supposed to be. And there's a lot of reasons, why I think you should approve it. First of all, we are the highest paying per square foot, maybe 3 times more than any average rents in this town. I think we have done a good job with what it is and how we, handling it. I think it would enhance the downtown and the comfort of the customers and the ability to open longer hours and like, weather-wise and different things and, different, the seasons, the hours will be extended. The liquor license, that, we are working on, will bring even more traffic to the downtown. I don't see a reason, really, not because, just, I think we already proved, that we are doing whatever we can for the town with the consideration for the people. And it's a kind of business that kind of reaches everyone. I think many times everybody feels comfortable to come there. You don't have to dress up. You don't have to really do something. You come, it doesn't matter how much money you have, what kind of a car you drive. You can see Lamborghinis in there. You can see every kind of cars that you want. And other than that, people come and it's very approachable. So I really think this is just going to make it better. Now, there was something that, that maybe somebody wants to change it to a full kind of restaurant and all that. Then we can discuss it because I think it's a wrong idea. And if you really want to go that way, I can show you, another location when you can do it even better. So if you have any questions for me, I will, before you go into your chamber and discuss it, yes.
Well, we really have to finish public comment time first, but go ahead, finish, Isaac.
So no, I think basically this is the idea. I don't know if I forgot something wrong, I took some notes, but anything.
Okay, all right, because this is really a closed session issue. Right, so, yeah. But no, appreciate that, though. Yeah, okay, thank you. Anyone else in the chambers like to make a comment on any topic whatsoever? No? Omar, is there anyone online who would like to make a comment?
If anyone online would like to make a comment, please raise your hand. See no hands, Mayor?
Okay, we're going to close public comment time then. Thank you, Omar. All right, correspondence?
That was handled during the.
So this was the.
This was the newspaper stand project.
Right, so it's the same thing. So we don't need to go over that again, right? Everybody's good?
Yeah.
Okay. And you guys have clarity on what's the next steps, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, administrators report, please.
Hey, Mayor, I'd like to start with really highlighting and acknowledging our DPW
Yes.
workers. We've been asking a lot of them, doing all kinds of double duty, triple duty for us. They were very helpful during the celebration and the watch party with Edon Alexander. We had them stay in the Knicks game, and we had to have them watch the equipment overnight. This past weekend, we had the full DPW working at the pool on Saturday and Sunday. I came down on Sunday and was over there with the mayor, and I can tell you that we should be very proud of the work ethic and the conduct of our DPW. We're opening the pool on Saturday, and we would not be able to be opening the pool on Saturday without their steadfast help. So I'd like to recognize them, and we should let them know in a positive way.
Here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so getting on to some other business that has come up very recently. On Sunday, unfortunately, there was a discovery of a leak of diesel fuel at our DPW. And the spill was contained, and the DEP protocols were taken into place. The tanks need to be replaced. They have exceeded their useful life, and we are looking to have this declared as an emergency to replace the fuel system. Storage tanks, and the cost is very high. It's $518,000. But we have no choice. The fuel is leaking. The tanks that we have are in need of being replaced. And of course, this provides the diesel fuel for all of our vehicles, and the gasoline for our vehicles, police vehicles, et cetera.
How old is this tank, do you know?
I don't know that offhand.
I thought we just replaced this.
They're above ground tanks.
Didn't we replace this a couple years ago? The oil tank in the DPW? Because it was leaking, something.
That was the other, that was.
That's
That was
underground.
different. That was a tank that was,
Yes.
that was found by accident
Yes,
with the pipe. That was the one with the pipe.
Yeah,
okay.
at DPW.
Right.
I want to make sure we're not, that
Different.
wasn't
There
this.
are a lot of tanks.
Lot of tanks.
We're like a tent.
So the next thing is, at 165 Grove Street.
Actually, I'm sorry, before you do that, I think it'd be, and I don't know if we do this or not, or take another look at it, creating sort of a useful life assessment
Yeah.
on our major things, because what we should be doing is planning as part of our
This is
budgeting
coming
process
up.
and say, 5 years from now, there's this, 6 years, we're not surprised by any of it. So if that's something that we could do, we have, 9 to 10 months until the next budget cycle, but I think that'd be really helpful.
And that's something that we really anticipate the department heads doing.
Yeah, so let's remind them as they prepare for the next budget
Yes.
cycle to,
We have that in the budget, so I'm gonna assume, because there's depreciation curve associated with useful life along
I
that.
think they're traditionally more, here under the cool new toys that we need or could use. I think thinking particularly of something like, this is not sexy, right? Thinking of,
All right.
But we have to think about it.
Go ahead, Lauren.
Our DPW does do inspections on their property and they do inspect our machinery, so was this something that, was there an
Yeah.
accident on this tank or?
This, I don't know, the only thing the only facts that I have is that there was a leak and it was gushing diesel fuel on Sunday.
Nobody.
It was inspected by the DPW director and we consulted with the borough engineer and he has given us a letter concurring that it's an emergency.
It wasn't a slow leak coming out, it
No,
burst
no,
through.
this was-
Yeah, right.
I mean, look, if it is an emergency, I think we obviously
Right.
are fixing it, but I was curious to know the
Yeah.
circumstances.
So the next thing we have is that on our property, 165 Grove Street, there was a discovery of an underground heating oil tank that we needed to take out. It was discovered obviously after taking it out that it had leaked. We're required under DEP regulations to then test the soils. That test has come back as the soil is being contaminated and there's a potential that the groundwater is also contaminated. So we are going to have to excavate out the contaminated soils. And it's in front of-
Outside the
in front of
pool. It's outside the pool.
So we're gonna have to excavate.
No, it's outside the
I
pool.
understand, but even so, it's at the New Grove Street Park.
No,
No.
it's at the pool, outside the pool, along Grove Street.
Okay.
And the
So
city,
it's
of
by,
course.
it's by the recycling.
I know.
It's by the recycling center, yes.
He tried, he
We're gonna
tried.
put a brand new
The
pool
pool
and dig
does
it all.
not use
Yes.
groundwater.
It's nothing to do with that.
Just an optics thing.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to go through the process
Yeah.
at site.
There's no question about it. We have to fix it, of course. Yes, Lauren.
Did the soil and water contamination leak into our?
No, not that there were, it went straight down. But because the groundwater is low there, it's gotten into the groundwater, so our engineer has.
By the railroad track, it's
I understand.
on the street, right?
Yeah, so our engineer had their licensed staff member to deal with this type of thing, has inspected it. He doesn't think that it's going to be a large process. He thinks that once it's going straight down, we can continue and remove the soil. We will have to put a monitoring well in under DEP regulations.
I know there's some already there.
Yeah, so we're
Yeah.
gonna see if we can utilize them, but we may have to put a well in as well.
Do we carry insurance for this?
We'll check with you.
There are other areas that we're concerned that might have.
That's the-
So
that's the next
That's
Okay,
that's the
because-
next thing,
Because if
so,
we check it, they will insure us.
right,
That's
so
how people insure it. We check and they say it's fine.
the next, and I talked with the borough attorney as well, and we're looking to see whether or not the previous operator of the pool had any kind of insurance with this tank being put in. And it's a long shot because the thought is that this is probably been put in 60%.
Sure.
So getting to that, with these two issues, I've asked I'm going to have the DPW do an inventory of all borough property to ensure that there are no other underground storage tanks that need to be addressed. Anybody have any questions on my report, the rest of it?
Yeah, just a question about Grove Street Park. What's our ETA on more of those elevated planters?
So, the elevator planters we have, the next tranche of them are ready tomorrow.
Great.
The ones that are there, we have one order in additional.
Okay, because it's going to coincide with the next newsletter is going to have people who are interested in those type of planters, or, you know, it's for wheelchair access. I just wanted to make sure we are like combining with when they're ready to go, our rollout, so to speak. Thank you.
Yes.
I'd like to actually talk about the Little League field.
Sure.
You know, so I understand we're rejecting the bids too high. When is the next round of bids, and when are we anticipating a review of
So
them?
there's a resolution on tonight to authorize the rebid.
I saw that, but
Right, so once it gets authorized in our PPA, we'll then set a date for the, so the resolution's gonna authorize Omar to advertise the new round, so he'll be that date for probably Sunday or Tuesday. And we'll get a date from the PPA tomorrow, the resolution.
Or next, like end of June, beginning of July?
I would say, I mean, you're going to probably get the same group that we had, so we already bid on it, and we'll sharpen the pencil a little bit. So we could potentially put a date that's the second week of June, so we can have the results before the June 16th meeting.
Yeah.
And then in that case, you have the option, if the results aren't in line with the budget, you reject the second time, you would have that opportunity to do that at June 16th. And then there's other options after that we can authorize.
Right.
so I'm sorry, I have some follow-ups.
Sure.
So was there a discussion with the Tenafly Little League again about that additional funding, and were they made aware that we're rejecting the bids tonight?
They're aware that we're rejecting the bids and the communication about the funding, I think Adam has taken the lead on.
They understand the rejection of bids, they still reiterate that the number one priority is the turf.
They're like, "Sure, take it with it." It's fine.
We've offered, look, here's the funds, if you want to use it for this, they're number one priorities.
What about those additional items we talked about last time, you know, fundraising, TLL giving money for things, was a conversation that?
Yeah, no, they understand. Again, I certainly don't want a monopoly of the, you know, speaks to, and Dan, you know, the same, you know, world, we know everybody together. Feel free to reach out and see if there's something different, but they've been consistent through the process that SHRP is their.
No, I mean like the additional stuff that they've never paid for, like the
Yeah, they're in the
Snapchat and
process of fundraising, they understand.
They know their
that if the
commitment.
bid comes in, they're gonna have to kind of close.
We did a huge fundraising at, the opening
Yeah,
day.
it was super cool.
And it was super cool, yeah.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Lauren. So just a quick question back about the Grove Street Park, David. You mentioned that the borough engineer is generally complete in a punch list. Remember, we were also using Kindergen for the landscape design, and one of the designs of the park was a pollinator garden. Do you know if that's you know, been planted?
I think that it has been planted.
Gotcha. Okay, I haven't been over.
There's new plantings that have been, when I was down there the other day, there are new plantings in that area.
That's the area where there's some benches. Okay, I just want, because sometimes when we say garden, I don't want people to confuse it. The planters are community gardens versus
Yes.
we were also going to have these pollinator gardens. So thank you very much. I got to get over this.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the ordinances.
We still have the CFO for the question.
Oh,
You have a question for the CFO?
yeah. Fine, so.
Susan?
So just quick, I didn't do it on purpose, just.
This might be
Right,
delayed.
yeah, sorry.
Might. I'll do that backup afterwards.
We issued $1 million when your AAA rating on?
Yes.
Okay, and it trades at about 31 basis points wide to the average. Did you get any color as to why that is? 31 basis points on $20 million is going to be really plugged with interest in their funding gap.
So I do that math. It's like almost spot on. I'm working at it like
Is it one?
31 of 20 million. I saw you talking about it. Did we have bond counsel in this? Is there somebody that?
We had bond
In our
counsel, we had
financial advisors.
Kasia, our financial
That's how much money we
advisor.
got back.
And I can say that the net interest cost is with 3.13. He said it was one of the best rates recently for any municipality.
I'm just seeing average of 283. And the question is, maybe it's in the definition. You're using the net interest rate. How are you using that?
Well, because they take into consideration the premiums that we get.
Understood. So that's-
We're getting a premium of $72,000.
Say,
72,000 premium.
well, somebody paid more for the bond than the state coupon, which is discount.
Yes.
Right? Still trading at a premium of 313 is wide to the 283. Just as a note of caution, I think we should look, potentially talk to other banks outside of that. Even the bank at the top of the banks, I don't know. But just looking at where those things have traded in terms of, I think it's a great execution. It's a one-year bond, right? And
No, yeah.
no, yes, which is traded higher than one. Just curious as to, maybe next year we can look tighter at that process in terms of alternative banks if that's possible.
So what they do is they do an electronic bidding, and then the bids come in. And because of the amount, it's not bank qualified, so we get investment companies bidding on us.
Okay, that's good clarity. We saw a list of 5 banks, so I thought it was a bank done deal. Is it not?
No, it's just, they weren't banks, they're investment.
Like Brian Jeffries and everyone else. Most of them. TD Securities, Bank of New York. Okay. Obviously, we chose the cheapest one, so it's the best execution available. Because we maintain a AAA rating, right?
Yes.
And one of the things we should look at is should we be AAA, or are we getting a real net benefit to that?
Yes.
What does it mean not to be AAA versus AA?
No, we're getting a big benefit by being AAA rated.
Okay. Let's look at it next year. I'd like to be involved in that process.
Definitely.
For sheer fun of it.
Okay, you ready to move on?
No.
Yeah.
I got one more. Sorry, Mayor. I'm very excited to see that there's a conceptual design planning going forward for the idea of a rep or community center. I know that's on tonight's consent agenda. I would like to have our council discuss a planning committee, and I absolutely would like to.
For which topic?
For the community center or recreation center.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Assuming it passes in the consent agenda tonight.
Right, yeah.
I absolutely would like to be on that
On that
committee.
committee, that's fine. We're gonna put that together, okay. All right, any other questions for David? No, okay. We're gonna move on to the public hearings, ordinance 25-16. The amend the garbage collection. Omar, could you read the confirmation of publication of the ordinance and the title, please?
Sure. Ordinance number 2516 was published in the Sunday, May 11th edition of the Record. It is an ordinance of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 19 Solid Waste Management of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of Tenafly, 2004, to revise the regulation of residential trash and recycling collection.
I'd like to open the floor for any public comment on ordinance 25-16 only. Anyone in the chambers like to speak on this? Does anyone online on Zoom want to speak on this topic?
See no hands, Mayor.
No hands, no hands, Omar? Okay, we're going to close public comment. Councilman Park, would you like to make a motion, please?
I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinance 2516, and that notice of same shall be published according to law.
Have a second, please. Omar, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Corsair?
Yes.
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Councilmember Roll Harry?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 25-17, dust containment. Omar, could you please read the confirmation of publication of the ordinance and the title?
Sure. Ordinance number 25-17 was published in the Sunday, May 11th edition of the Record. It's an ordinance of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 10, Building and Housing of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of Tenafly, 2004, to establish Chapter 10, Section 13, containment of dust and plastic at construction sites.
Okay, I'd like to Open the floor for any public comment on this ordinance 25-17 only. Anyone in the chambers like to speak on this ordinance? Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to speak on this ordinance? Omar, do you see anyone raising their
I
hands?
see no hands, Mayor.
All right, we're going to close public comment. Councilwoman Dr. O'Connor, would you like to make a motion, please?
Sure, thank you. I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinance 25-17, and that notice of same shall be published according to law.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Corsair,
Yes.
Councilmember Dean,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
Councilmember Robert.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Moving on to the consent agenda, item I, resolution 25-321. We'll pull that from the consent agenda and revisit that after the closed session this evening. Anyone have any questions, any other items here? Okay, could I get a motion to approve resolution 25-313 through 25-320 and 25-322 through 25-328?
So moved.
Have a second.
Second?
Omar, please call the roll.
Councilmember Corsair,
Yes.
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
Councilmember Robert.
Yes.
Okay, committee reports. Councilwoman Dayton, anything?
Absolutely. Our Pride Committee met today. Unfortunately, I couldn't make the meeting. It was my daughter's last softball game this afternoon for high school. Sorry, David. But I understand that planning for both our flag raising and our Pride Day are underway. The flag raising will be Wednesday, June 4th, thank you. And our Pride Day will be Saturday, June 7th, thank you. If anyone's interested in helping out this committee, we're always looking for volunteers. Please come out, show your support, be an ally, enjoy the day. It's wonderful to have these events. And I know Julie's going to talk about Nature Day, which is the next day, so I'll leave that for her.
What time is the flag raising?
It's 3:30, it's right after school, and the GSA clubs will walk over to Hyler. Our senior services met. We had a very interesting discussion with the Women's Rights Information Center in Englewood about sharing housing. Whether it's somebody in our end who wants to open their home for a resident and share some space, or whether they want to essentially get rid of their own space and become a tenant of someone else. If anyone is interested in this, it's a wonderful opportunity for seniors to bridge the gap with families and other members of our community. Please contact the Women's Information Rights Center. It was a robust conversation in the senior meeting about how difficult affordable housing is and how Tenafly has the opportunity to do chore and cheer through Bergen Volunteers, which is errands and fixing up their own homes, but that most of them don't want to maintain the larger properties at this point, you know. So anything we can do to assist our senior population so they can age in place here, is always a good thing. And that's it. And I'll let you, Mayor, do the planning board.
Well, that's very kind of you.
Do you want to discuss the resolution that's coming on shared housing, or do you want me to do it?
You can do that, because I'm just going to mention the
Okay.
issue with the planner coming to the planning board.
Okay, so we are going to receive a report from our planning board on our affordable housing, our shared use. No, sorry, yeah, not shared use.
It's
excuse me,
affordable housing.
Affordable housing. Fair share plan is the word I'm looking for.
I was getting confused.
On fair share, it is a report that the planning board has been working on.
The housing element and fair share plan.
Thank you, Wendy. She is the correct title. So we as the council will be given one evening to pass this up and down, but we will get the report in a draft form beforehand. And I implore everybody to please read through that draft.
So let me just correct that. The council does not approve it. The planning board does.
So we get-
It'll be a public hearing before the planning board.
Got it?
The plan itself will be on file at the borough clerk's office or however other places that become noticed in the newspaper. A minimum of 10 days in advance. We're aiming, with a cushion, but it will be at least 10 days in advance of the planning board meeting. It'll be advertised. The hearing, anybody can come speak at the planning board. The planning board, the one that adopts it, it's an element of your master plan. And because there is the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which part of the housing element is a draft of how you do your spending plan. So because there's a financial element, the council will thereafter have a resolution to endorse the housing plan, which will adopt your spending plan.
So everyone, please pay attention to this. We get one shot in June and it's hopefully, going to be passed by all boards, so.
By state statute, if you don't have it adopted and entered into the program on or before June 30th, the borough risks losing its immunity from builder-friendly lawsuits.
To be fair though, if it's just the mayor that gets put in jail, I think the council is fully for it.
The mayor might vote in favor of that.
But this is important.
Nobody is put
No,
in
it's-
jail, but it could at worst, completely obliterate all of your zoning and the court would decide what gets built.
So the
At
planning,
worst.
the planning board's having a hearing, they're gonna vote to approve it.
Can we send someone to jail
and
instead?
Council for adoption also.
So I will say, this is such an important thing. We, and thank you, Wendy, for being so on top of this, are in such a good state in our borough, building affordable housing and finding new projects for affordable housing. So I thank the full council for those efforts, because I think we're in very good shape and our experts believe the same.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Rolieri.
So I'm on two committees, the DPW and police, and both of which I think in the last month, I mean, obviously they're tremendous organizations and have always been outstanding. But to go above and beyond the way that they did, not only on the May 12th event where we started at 4:30 in the morning and 600 or 700 people assembled, I have to say I was floored arriving there personally to see everything set up, everything organized, maintained, and then we dropped in and hey, by the way, we also want to throw in the game thing and stuff. I think that was the single best day of community that I've ever experienced in this town. I want to thank the police and the DPW for what they did, because their attitude, their engagement, and their enthusiasm around creating community was utterly extraordinary. So after that, we rewarded them handsomely by giving them a massive pool project, tying two hands behind their back. And I've been to the DPW, I've been to the sites, I've been to the dog park, I've seen our police in action, and they're smiling about it. I want to thank them for what they've done. I'm going to throw one more story because it's floored by this. I spoke to my father, who at 86 years old insists on walking everywhere. Insists on walking my 82-year-old mother around town. They decided that she wouldn't walk home, and he left her in the care of two DPW staff in town. Well, he walked home to get a toy to pick her up. And I saw the guys in town that night say, we were the ones that did this. And not only did they say they were, but they cited how much they enjoyed it, which is extraordinary. I'm thankful for that. But again, the demonstrable nature of community and engagement by, I think, some of the most important people in this town that keep us bonded, safe, and in a place that we all want to live needs to be recognized. It has been above and beyond anything I've seen in a very long time.
That's wonderful.
Can I add one more to that, John? The smiles on the face of DPW at the street fair the week prior.
Yeah.
Also,
Unbelievable.
With rain.
With rain, yes.
Okay, thank you
Very
for
lucky
that.
town.
Thank you. All right, Adam.
Can't follow that. I will pass. I will.
Councilwoman O'Connor.
Sure. Just a couple of things. First, for the Environmental Commission, just want to say thank you to the council tonight for your passing the resolution in support of the New Jersey Climate Superfund Act. That was tonight. Also, thank you for passing the dust containment ordinance. Those were things that the Environmental Commission strongly endorsed. Just the last meeting we had been just a very long meeting, so we didn't get a chance to do our committee report. So just want to say that the trash-a-thon that happened in late April was massively successful. We cleaned 900 plus pounds of trash, and we had about 90 participants. And it really, Councilman Roglieri is talking about community. these are my favorite days when the community comes together and does such positive things. Everybody knows that the Nature Center had a wonderful fundraiser this past weekend. I do want to talk about the upcoming Nature Day, and that would be on June 8th. And specifically, that's 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's a really nice day for families of, all ages. And even if you yourself want to check it out, there's vendors that are like by the driveway area, and then you get to go actually take the canoes out. Last year they had busing, a van that'll take you from the center of town and bring it over to the Nature Center. I don't know if we're doing exactly that same thing, but I imagine, maybe David might know by now, but I think they're doing that again. And so I really recommend checking out Nature Day. And it's a nice long window from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And just want to say it's a lovely community, and hopefully it won't rain all the time so we can get out and enjoy. Just a fun fact, did anyone here know that New Jersey gets more rain than Seattle, Washington by an enormous amount?
My brother lives in Seattle, that's what he tortures them.
Yeah, we actually get far more rain if you look it up. So, and I think now we can tell that. So anyway, pray for that. Anyway, thank you.
That's an interesting fact.
It was interesting.
Councilman Park, thanks, Julie.
Like John said, thanks to the DPW's hard work this weekend, we will be having our pool ribbon cutting this Saturday at 2 p.m.
The pool, 2 p.m. Saturday.
Stay off the sod.
They're
A lot of sod.
yeah, I know, I saw.
Stay off the side.
They're going to tape it off.
You good, Councilman?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, couple of things. Planning board comment.
The last council meeting, the previous meeting, there were conversations about the mixed use in one of the zones in terms of what percent of retail, all that. So David Novak, the planning board and the borough planner, is going to make an appearance at a meeting of council. It looks like in late July or August, because he's got a lot of questions on what you mean by space, percentages, because interpretation is a lot of different directions. So we'll hear more about that then. Dan, obviously you already announced the pool's opening on Saturday, so that's great news. Monday is the Memorial Day Parade, 9:30 a.m. that the Elks are throwing. Kicks off at George Street at 9:30. Parade, speeches, and then for the hot dogs over at the Elks for free. So everybody thank the Elks for that. Okay, that's all I have. So, Counselor, you want to read the closed session comments? Afterwards, yes.
So it's resolution 25-329 at a meeting of the mayor and council of the borough of Tenafly, county of Bergen, state of New Jersey, held on May 20th, 2025. Be it resolved in compliance with NJSA 10:4-12, the mayor and council of the borough of Tenafly are going into closed executive session to discuss the following matter: attorney-client privilege matters of potential litigation and affordable housing litigation, and real property matters of leasing of borough property and potential acquisitions. Minutes will be taken in the meeting released to the public at the time that the matters are resolved, and action may be taken after the council comes back from closed.
Can I get a motion to go into close, please?
So moved.
Could I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
So we're going into closed session. After we're done, we're going to come back to public session. Okay, I just need to read the resolution as I typically would. All right, consent agenda resolution 25-321. Can I get a motion, please? Can I get a second? Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Corsair?
Yes.
Councilmember Davian? Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Leary?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can I get a motion? Thank you, everyone. Could I get a motion to close the public meeting?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Any opposed?
I ain't tryna tell you what to do, but try to play cool. Baby, I ain't playing by your rules. Everything